Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's virtual plant clinic. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension here in Hernando County, and helping me with your questions today is one of our Master Gardener volunteers, Bernie. Good morning, Bernie. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing very well. This
Good. I guess for the time being, Bernie is my regular co-host here because at the moment we have no Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator. But we have somebody who's supposed to be starting in about 2 weeks or so. So as soon as they do, we'll have them on and everybody can meet them also. So, as always, if anybody has any kind of lawn and garden questions, fruit trees, flowers, bushes, trees, water, I'm forgetting a whole bunch of things here. Any of those kind of questions, just go ahead and put them in the comments and we'll do our very best to get them answered for you. And we will share some University of Florida fact sheets with you to give you some good background information. I see that we have a few people on here with us today. So today is the beginning of August. This is August 3rd. I think that's what it says down in the corner of my computer screen here. And it's kind of hot outside. And it's starting to rain a little bit. It's been raining at your yard? Pretty kind of sort of regular, not really regular, but better.
we have been getting a tremendous amount of rain. Normally, where we sit, the systems develop and go around us, and we don't get much rain. But this summer, the grass needs to be cut every 3 days, and actually, I don't do that. But I have cut it probably twice as much as I would have normally. I'm one of those people that if you let the Bahia grass grow and produce some seed heads, it tends to keep the Bahia nice and full.
Mm-hmm.
Really looks good when it's mowed. It is beautiful. I like that, and my wife likes that. My neighbors, uh, they just enjoy the fact that I've cut the grass because I do the front part where the cars go by all about once a week. Uh, and I do the back about 4 times or 5 times a year. So um, it really doesn't look all that bad. It's kind of an interesting thing. Once you get a nice stand of long grass,
Mm-hmm.
it tends to stay at a nice level uh, height across the entire property. And from a distance, it looks like it's really great. And they don't have any way to get in my backyard to see that it's a foot tall. So if you don't walk through the back, you don't notice that it needs to be cut that bad.
Yeah. My neighbors don't need to be worrying about what's going on in my backyard, grass wise, garden wise, or anything else. So, but yeah, I've been cutting mine about once a week. It seems like we'll get a couple days of rain, then it kind of dries up a little bit, but it's getting more regular right now. Um, Citrus trees love it. My fire bush loves it. My sweet potatoes are growing just fine. And when it rains, I don't have to water them, which makes me happy. So everything is growing really well at the moment. Problem is, it's a little hot outside. And what does hot weather and frequent rain and high humidity bring with it?
Fungus. If you
Fungus,
are in
yes.
Florida, you live in that stuff. We have our share.
Yes, most fungi, not all of them, but most all of them really like it when it's warm all day, all night, wet a lot, humid all the time. And that's when we get into the summer, that kind of weather, you're probably going to start to have fungal leaf spot problems with a lot of your plants. Not all of them. Some plants really never get any diseases, but other plants are guaranteed to get them. Got a picture the other day of a gentleman. He has apparently a lot of different fruit trees. He had a peach and a mulberry and a cherry, which cherries don't do well here, and figs, and probably one or two others. couple of citrus. And this time of year, all those different fruit trees are going to have fungal leaf spot problems.
Yeah, the mulberry, about this point, all the leaves should start really looking bad. The magnolias, all their leaves are going to look bad. It's a little early for them, but they're starting to show some spots. And you know, that's one of the great things about God's plan on this is that they all fall down, they go away, but they come back next year and they look great. So if you don't worry too much about what's happening this year, next year it'll look great again. It's the new awakening, and unfortunately, people tend to put too many things down, trying to stop what is actually the way nature intends for the plant to behave. So, you know, you really need to know your individual plant. Some plants, you know, the ones that are not dropping the leaves, that are counting on those leaves being there for years, they shouldn't be looking bad. But the rest of the plants, if they're gonna, if it's a deciduous plant, it's probably going to look really terrible by the time all the leaves go away. So, you know, you have to know the plant, and you have to know what's nature for it. Like I said, magnolia really should look bad. They develop a lot of gray spots. It's one plant that you can count on it looking bad when the leaves finally fall. So don't worry about it. And besides, if the tree is 40 feet tall, and you did want to keep it looking pretty, how in the world would you ever spray a 40-foot tall or an 80-foot tall tree and get any kind of coverage?
Yeah, and I'm asked those questions sometimes. People will call about a tree and they say, should I spray it with something? That's like, it's probably not safe. We don't want to see you up on a ladder with a backpack sprayer spraying something all over. That's not safe or a good idea. I've had questions about tent caterpillars in trees. Should I climb up in the tree and spray it? No, that's not safe. Should I cut my tree down? That's pretty extreme. No, you probably don't have to do that. So yeah, sometimes you need to, you need to be safe out there. You don't want to go injuring yourself trying to implement some kind of treatment that's not even really called for to begin with.
You know,
but with those leaf spots, something that you do want to watch for is all different trees, the deciduous ones, the ones that are going to lose their leaves at some point in the fall, they do so at different times. So, for example, peaches. Peaches are going to drop their leaves at some point. What's average around here for that?
I would say about now, the next month is the start of the leaf drop on peach. They tend to go in a hurry here.
Yeah. So that's normal. The leaves are going to fall off in the fall, and that's totally normal for them. But if it happens really early, let's say you start losing all the leaves off your peach July 1st every year, that's not good. And over time, because it's losing its leaves too early, it's going to weaken the tree. The tree's not going to be as productive, and it's going to have a much shorter life. So you need to learn and look up some information on each different thing you're growing and get an idea of when the leaves should start coming off naturally. So we have a couple of questions here. Bernie, can we grow neem tree from cuttings, and how, if so?
I don't know if you can or not. That's not something I've done.
Growing neem trees are native to India, and depending on how tropical they need it, you should be able to grow them here. I'm not sure how cold sensitive they are. Hopefully, Teresa is Googling that one as I am speaking slower and slower to give her a chance to. So we'll have to check on that one for you. And here's a good question about trees. Do magnolia and crepe myrtles need fertilizing?
After they're established, they're pretty much native and don't need anything going at all. And crepe myrtles, by the way, do not need to be trimmed every year. Uh, if you do it and you really want to end up uh, with a crepe myrtle that is pruned every year, uh, read up about pollardization of trees and exactly how it's done. Otherwise, if you just go out and you cut the tree at a certain height every year, which is what we call crepe murder, uh, you end up with a tree that the leaves are pretty weak. They don't withstand any heavy storms, and it's never going to be a happy tree. And unfortunately, crepe myrtles, being deciduous, spend 6 months of the year uh, just standing there with no leaves. And
Hmm.
if you have butchered the tree for 6 months, you just see one of the ugliest sights ever, just in order to have 6 months of pretty that wouldn't be any prettier than if you had left them alone. So I don't know where the habit came from, but it's not a good one, and we try to stop people from doing it.
Yeah, and as a general rule, with any trees that you have growing in your yard, um, different various shade trees, whether it's an oak or a magnolia or a maple, they generally don't need to be fertilized. And if you have a lawn and you ever fertilize that lawn at all, that's going to be plenty of fertilizer for the tree. Because the nice thing is when you fertilize your grass, the fertilizer goes up on the surface, it goes in, hopefully your grass roots take up the majority of it. Whatever escapes that and keeps going lower and lower, the tree roots are going to take up and capture a lot of that fertilizer before it keeps heading south or downwards into our groundwater. So tree roots are kind of the last chance to catch that fertilizer before it goes someplace where we don't want it to. And trees, they have roots that go far and wide. They do a great job of finding those nutrients. So they don't need to be fertilized.
And the roots are a lot higher, a lot closer to the surface than what most people realize. When I was in school, they used to teach that the trees went down into the ground long distances, and that's not really true. It turns out that most trees, the roots go 2 to 3 times what the drip line of the tree is, and they're close to the surface. The roots need to pick up oxygen, and if they're 3 feet deep, uh, there isn't that much oxygen. So
Hmm.
they're close to the surface, uh, so they easily pick up whatever you put on the lawn, which means that you have to be very careful. Some of the lawn uh, or not fertilizer, but herbicides, lawn weed products uh, are very damaging to oak trees. So you need to be extremely careful when you put things down if you have uh, landscape plants that can be damaged. And oaks are one of the sensitive ones.
Yes, we've seen that on a regular basis. And even weed control products that you would very commonly use, atrazine, we saw damage the heck out of an oak tree a year or two ago. And they put down the atrazine in the spring. And the oak, every time it tried to send out new growth, it would be twisted and curled. And Florida Forestry Service came down and looked at it, determined it was the atrazine. All summer long, it kept having this problem. Finally, by fall, it kind of outgrew it, and the atrazine broke down or dissipated inside of the tree, and it was back to growing normally. Now, you can fertilize 100 lawns, and 99 of them, 99, oak trees are not going to have a problem. Every once in a while, it's just did it on the wrong day. The oak tree was taking up a lot of water. For some reason, those herbicides can affect trees, and we see that not a lot, but on a fairly regular basis.
But as a general rule, if the tree is a native tree, it's going to live without you doing anything to it. So uh, it's adapted to being here. It's happy being here, and in a lot of instances, all you can do is really make it worse. So
Hmm.
there again, it's check with your extension office about the needs of a particular tree if you don't know, and we're glad to pass that information on. If you've got something a little more exotic, we may have to look it up and get back with you, but we'll let you know.
Yeah, more exotic like the neem trees. I see that the Teresa did find a link for some information on propagating them. Um, and all trees are different. Obviously, native trees never really need to be fertilized. Certain ornamental trees, maybe, maybe not. Citrus trees definitely need to be fertilized with a quality citrus fertilizer. So they're all different. They all have different needs.
I'm not sure you could call citrus for the most part a native tree. That
No,
is
it's native to China.
that's one of those things where uh, we have found that because it's sandy, we have the right conditions, and it's wonderful that citrus grows here. But it's terrible the fact that we've had such a big monoculture when the diseases hit. It pretty well took us out of the citrus business now.
Hmm. Well, human beings do a fantastic job of discovering tasty fruit somewhere in the world, and then they break out their globe and they draw a line around the world and they move it because mangoes are native to Southeast Asia and India, and we just moved them around the world. Cassava, same thing. Dragon fruit, all the different tropical fruits. Wherever in the world we can put them on a ship and take them to and grow them there. Um, Cacao that we get chocolate from, almost all of it comes from Africa now, but it's native to Central America. So we just picked it up and put it on. They did it a long time ago, so I'm sure it was a wooden sailing ship and sailed it over to Africa. And we're going to grow it there, and we're going to grow it all the way around the world now. So do a pretty amazing job at that.
We pretty well fouled up bananas, so
Yeah.
there's another one that is in a terrible position of being monoculture where it's grown and very easy to have something come in and take out an entire banana plantation. So
Yeah, because there's a bunch of different varieties of bananas in the world that you could try growing in your own backyard. But the ones that you buy at the grocery store are all one variety. And as a general rule, they're all clones of each other. So if one gets the disease that kills it, they can all get the same disease. But I was at the store yesterday and they still have plenty of bananas and they're still cheap. So they're safe for today at least. Anne Marie has a question here. She says she was in Tennessee observing a farm. They had a tree that puts nitrogen back into the soil. Looks like a moringa tree. I was wondering if you knew the name. If not, I will contact the farmer again and let y'all know. Thank you. She thought she wrote it down. There are a lot of different trees, and they tend to have compound leaves that look like moringa. So I believe moringa catches and holds on to and concentrates nitrogen. So it could be used as a nitrogen fixing tree. Here in Hernando County, we have a tree called white lead tree. It's highly invasive. We have a lot of it right over along the coast. That's where almost all of it is. But it fixes nitrogen and puts it back in the soil, but it's very, very invasive. So we have an ordinance against growing it here. If you have them in your yard, you have to cut it down and get rid of it. So we don't want to encourage that one. There's a number of different trees, mostly from South and Central America, that are grown as a nitrogen fixing tree. So it catches nitrogen from the atmosphere and concentrates it in its roots and helps to put it back in the soil. I'm pretty sure moringa does that also, but moringa is invasive too. Sorry. I don't do the studies. I just share them. So I know a lot of people grow moringa. A lot of work is being done on the health benefits of it, but technically it's an invasive tree. So you want to make sure the seed pods don't start getting all over your property or in the woods. Evelyn, good morning. How are you? Lori has another question here. Lori says, is it a problem to have bushes and vines such as honeysuckle and jasmine growing near the house or on the side of the house, especially during hurricanes?
It's not a hurricane problem as such, but the plants growing on the side of the building are never a good deal for several reasons. One, some of them produce compounds that are damaging to the siding or damaging to whatever they're attaching to on your house. And second, it's a great way for the termites to get to the top of the building. You build a little road right up the side of the building, and if they get to the wooden window frames or to the wooden portions under the eaves, it can be a serious problem later on. So plants actually growing against the building are not a good thing.
That is correct for a lot of different reasons. It does create the perfect little highway for either ants or termites or other insect pests to make it to your house. It gives cover to mice, rats, other animals who now they have a nice little hiding place in a home right up against your house. That's not a good idea. Any kind of tree leaves or palm tree leaves that are leaning down and laying on top of the roof, dropping leaves on your roof, really bad for your shingles. So it's a really good idea to keep all the plant material back at least a foot or so from the wall of your house. A little bit further is better. You're probably thinking, well, I have to have foundation shrubs and things like that around my house, and that's fine. You just have to keep them back from the wall of your house. And go out there and check on a fairly regular basis also. Make sure nobody is living and hanging out around your property that you don't know about. Because otherwise you're going to get ants in the house and they've come in through a little crack in a wall or a window. They crawled up a bush and onto the wall and finally found their way inside. They're pretty determined. And Teresa, if you're still listening and watching, I know that there is a fantastic University of Florida fact sheet on that topic, written by our county director, Jim Davis, and I am a co-author on that also. I'm not sure if that's the one that you pulled up here. Maybe it is. So look that up online. University of Florida fact sheet about keeping pests away from your house and proper plant placement to help minimize and avoid those kind of problems. But yeah, it's not really a hurricane issue. Vines and things like that are going to blow around. They might blow down. If you have them trellised or growing on a fence, you may end up with a big jumbled mess after a hurricane. But they're not heavy enough to really damage your house if they start blowing around. And we have a question from Bill here about tree roots. I've heard from folks in states north of us that it is hard to garden if you have a red maple nearby. Is this true also down here in Central Florida also? Not that I know of. Red maples are native to all up and down the east coast of the U.S. So they're native here. They're up in the Carolinas. You know, I wonder if they grow in Pennsylvania. I think that we're going to have our old friend Lily Browning on here visiting with us next Thursday, which she's planning on doing anyway. So Bernie, remember to ask her about red maples up there in Pennsylvania. Maples can be a little difficult in your yard because they do something that a lot of different trees do, which is they get older, they get larger, they get bigger. The roots will pop up above the ground. So when you're out there with your lawnmower, you're either bouncing over the roots or you're chewing them up with your lawnmower. Don't chew them up with your lawnmower. Those are very, very important roots. Even the ones that stick up above the ground. Don't bury them. Some people are like, should I get a truckload of dirt and bury them because they look like they need to be buried? No, leave those roots right where they are. They're just fine. they give greater gas exchange for the tree through the roots, and that's totally normal to have roots popping up above the ground. It just makes it difficult to garden because you're tripping over roots, you're bouncing your lawnmower over it, and if you have a lawn service, they may be chewing the roots up. But
Now,
that's
there
not really.
there are some trees that are allelopathic, which means that they produce a chemical that inhibits other plants from growing near them.
Mhm.
And I can see where that would be a problem to try and garden near a tree that was trying to poison off everything growing underneath. But I'm pretty sure red maple isn't one of them.
I'm pretty sure also the classic example is black walnut, which I don't think grows here in Central Florida. It grows up north. Black walnut leaves contain a substance that is a natural herbicide. It kind of kills everything trying to grow around the tree. So it does a really good job of like staking out its little spot to grow in and keeps all the other plants away. But other than that, maples gets a little hard to keep a good shape on them. Some of them have a good shape, but some of them always look a little awkward. And as they get larger and older, sometimes they'll get a lot of bark cracking, limbs that have to be removed. So they're going to take a little bit of work. Maples don't grow themselves for 100 years where you don't have to do anything. And Teresa found something on plant placement. This is it. This is what I think. And this fact sheet should get an award, I think. Landscape methods to keep pests out. So be sure to go ahead and click on that and read that. And that gives you some things that maybe you don't think about that you have going on in your yard, and you don't really think that they're causing a problem or potential problem. Hiding space for rodents, or an easy highway for insects to make it from the ground up a bush or a branch and now to the wall of your house, and then in from around a window. And here's some information on red maples. Like I said, they are native to Central Florida. They do fine here. So hey guys, anybody else has any lawn and garden or vegetable garden or fruit tree questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. If you are shy and you don't want to do so, you can always shoot me an email. Now, when you do this, when you shoot me an email, send me lots of pictures. Try to make sure the pictures are in a standard format like JPEG or something. Sometimes if you take the pictures on your phone, it may put them in a weird format that I'm not able to open or access. Please be patient, because if I'm really busy running here, there, and everywhere, I won't get back to you in 10 minutes. I probably won't get back to you in an hour. It may take a day or two for me to figure out what's going on and get back to you. So please be patient, but feel free to send me an email, or if you have a sample of something you want looked at, you have a bug and you don't know what it is, you have spots on your leaves and you don't know what's going on, your lawn is dying and you want somebody to look at a sample, just stop by our office or go ahead and call our office. Bernie is here pretty much all day long on Thursday. Bernie, what time are you going to be here till today?
Till 3 o'clock.
Okay, Bernie's here till 3 on Thursdays. So please feel free to call or just stop by. He's here. And happy to look at whatever kind of physical samples you have that need to be looked at.
Got a microscope right next to the desk, and if I can't figure it out, I get Bill, and if Bill can't figure it out, we have the entire university at our disposal. So,
yeah, we send pictures to people.
This whole thing was started back in 1862. That President Lincoln signed the documentation that created the land grant college system, and wasn't much longer after that system that the extension, I think it was 25 years later, the extension system was put in place. And so the entire country has been served by people who really want to do nothing but help you and will get you the right information. And we've been doing this for 125 years or more now. So there's my commercial for my little group.
Thank you. We need to put that on a video. We need to put that on a Facebook reel. So Anne Marie, going back to the moringa, said probably won't do an invasive. That's good to know. It just had great health benefits. I'll see if I can get the name of what he grew and let you know. Yeah, go ahead and do that, because there are a number of trees with compound leaves that can be used for nitrogen fixation. So it fixes nitrogen from the atmosphere with the help of bacteria in the soil. And then if you take the tree and cut it down, grind it up, if it's little, just turn it under, you can help build up the nitrogen in the soil that way.
You know, the nitrogen in the soil is not long lasting, unfortunately.
No, it comes and goes very quickly, especially here in Florida. So Evelyn has a question. I have a small fig tree that hasn't been growing for the last year. It's like it's paused, has about 6 leaves that look healthy, but not getting any bigger. I wonder what I should do.
I know that one.
There you go.
You probably should give up hope of having figs. The figs are very susceptible to nematodes. And the problem and the symptom is that it grows very well for the first year. Then it stops getting bigger, and then it gets smaller, and then it stays at this little tiny stage. It never gets big, but it doesn't die. And because it never gets big, if it produces fruit, maybe 1 fruit or 2 fruit, and that's it. But the 2 common varieties of fig, Celeste and Brown Turkey, both have that problem here. So especially if you're in an area that was once a citrus grove, it becomes very, very difficult. And there isn't any homeowner nematicide to clear the problem. So if that's what it is, and that's a real good possibility here, you're probably never going to be able to grow figs.
Yeah, something you can do with figs is just grow them in a large container of potting soil.
Yeah, 5-gallon bucket will grow a pretty decent sized fig plant.
Yeah, because nematodes are microscopic soil dwelling roundworms, and there's certain species that damage plants, and there's some that damage fig trees. Figs are one of their favorite things to munch on, basically. Another one is okra. So if you have nematodes and you try growing okra, it's not going to work out well. They will gobble up the okra roots and kill them really quick. And we have kind of a follow-up question on there. What you said about nematodes and fig, is it true for citrus? Do they get nematodes and stop growing?
They do. And that's why almost all citrus trees are grafted. They use a rootstock that is resistant to those nematodes. And if you take a seed out of a piece of citrus and try and grow it, if it's an old citrus area, you may not be able to do it because the nematodes will attack it. But that is very, very common to have plants with nematode problems. And what happens is you usually find nematode resistant tomatoes. There are nematode resistant tomato plants. So if you want to grow tomatoes in Florida, you need a plant that is resistant to certain funguses and resistant to nematodes. And it is some little letters that on the plant that I think it's what, FRN, that represents their fungus and nematode resistant, and they do well here. But if you just have an up north tomato plant and you stick it in the ground here, it may or may not do well. And the same thing is very, very true of the citrus. So some citrus has natural immunity to certain nematodes. So you plant on the most common one, by the way, is sour orange. Sour orange has a very high resistance to nematodes, but the fruit is not edible. So we tend to put most of our citrus in this area on sour orange or a similar rootstock. If you get a freeze that's bad enough to kill the top part of the plant, this wonderful sweet orange that you've got is now dead, but the rootstock is still there and it's healthy and it's sour orange, and it comes back a thorny plant with terrible fruit. And people think that the freeze caused this tree to do something. Well, no, the tree is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The sweet orange died, and now the sour orange is coming up from the rootstock, and it's going to be a nasty plant, and it's going to have thorns. So we get that call a lot. What happened? We had this freeze this year, and now my oranges all turned sour. So that's because the sweet orange died. So I hope that answered your question.
And the same thing goes for peaches, plums, and nectarines. They're pretty much always grafted onto nematode-resistant rootstock. All the different rootstocks aren't like 100% guaranteed to be always 100% nematode-resistant all the time, but they're much more resistant than other rootstocks would be.
Well, what's actually interesting with citrus is there are several rootstocks that are fairly nematode resistant, and they tend to be nastier plants, rough lemon, the sour oranges, those kind of things. But each one gives the plant a different characteristic. So if you're in the southern part of the country, you use rough lemon for a rootstock that makes the trees grow really fast. So you use rough lemon from Sarasota south, imparts no additional cold resistance to the plant, but it makes it grow faster and protects it from the nematodes. Well, that doesn't work here because we need more cold resistance. So we use sour orange, which imparts a little cold resistance along with the nematode resistance. So you can make the trees bigger, you can make the trees smaller, you can give them more cold hardiness, faster growth, and all these things are controllable. And we're doing two things at once normally with citrus. We're setting it up so that it can grow with the nematode resistance, and that it has a characteristic for where it's planted that is beneficial and makes us money. You now know everything I know about citrus.
That's pretty much it. I know that they look at different rootstocks for nematode resistance, cold tolerance, and also tolerance to wet soils. So you can have one of those attributes, but you can't have all two or all three. Yeah. So you're going to have to make a choice. But I know that with a lot of plants that do have nematode resistance, because this even holds true for the nematode resistant tomatoes, if they're grown in really, really terrible conditions, poor soil, no fertilizer, no irrigation, drought stress, if they're really, really stressed, the nematodes can overcome the resistance and kill the plants. So nematode resistance is really helped by you growing healthy plants.
And if you have nematode problems, container gardening is absolutely the way to go.
Yep. Because you could leave all those nasty things that are in your soil, you leave them behind, leave them out in the yard. You're growing in containers, clean soil. You control the nutrients, the water, everything else.
Solarization is one of the things that they say is the way to go to get rid of nematodes. Well, that works for a very short period of time. Nematodes don't move very fast, but they do move. So you solarize, they go down. As soon as you put a crop in, they start coming back up. So if it works this year, it won't work next year. You'll have to sit out another season and solarize again. So it puts you in the every other year gardening thing if you want solarization.
Yeah, it helps. It helps, and it does chase them away temporarily. You get a freer time to get a crop in the fall.
As I understand it, the Australians have developed a nematode product that is actually effective. It's extremely expensive, hard to obtain, but it has been approved, and I believe you can actually get some online. And if you are really a fanatic on, I have to have my anti-war garden and the Victory Garden thing, and I've got some friends that are like that or whatever. Anyway, that might be a possibility. It's a relatively new thing, and it might be worth investigating. I don't know of anybody that's actually tried it here, but it's about the only product that's approved. Even the commercial farmers have lost the ability to use most of the products that they were using. They are fairly dangerous chemicals, and we've put so many things in the water system now. We don't need much more poison.
Yeah, there are very, very few homeowner available nematode controls. There is one I learned about a year or so ago, and I will most likely purchase some and try it out on my own. I have root knot nematodes in my vegetable garden. I know that. I have seen the damage in the past. I can't grow okra in the garden soil in the summer, but there is a product, and let me go ahead and show this real quick here. And this is from a company, Monterey Nematode Control. It's made of saponins from Quillaja saponaria, which is a tropical fruit. So it's created from oils of that, and it inhibits root knot nematodes. It does not eradicate all of them. It basically makes them really unhappy and kills some and chases the other ones off. And I actually pulled up some research on it, and it shows that it is effective to a certain extent. It's not a silver bullet cure-all, but it can be effective. So I was going to try some on my own to share with everybody about, hey, did it work? Did it not? This is a product that's available for sale from a number of different companies. It's made by the company Monterey. So we're not advocating, any one product over another. We're not getting any kind of residuals or kickbacks or anything else from these companies. So, but just thought I'd share that. That really is about the only homeowner control that I know of. There's other things that help. Adding lots of organic matter to your soil inhibits nematodes. It makes them not as happy and kind of runs them off. Root knot nematodes love it where it's really sandy, dry, and really hot, like my vegetable garden this time of year. So yeah. The more organic matter and compost you add, the unhappier there are. Crab shells and shrimp shells, which contain very high levels of chitin, helps to deter them. How well it works, I really don't know. I've never pulled up the research to see how effective it is. But yeah, if you have nematodes, there is no silver bullet that we can recommend. You're going to have to manage them and work with them as best you can.
They're small enough to go through a coffee filter, aren't they? seemed like that when I went through the nematode lab, that they were straining them through a coffee filter to get a product that was nothing but nematodes and liquid that they could put under a microscope.
The small ones, Cam, the largest ones that you would ever run across in the garden, like a sting nematode or lance nematode, are almost a millimeter long. You could, if you know where to look, see them with the hand lens.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, anybody has any last minute questions, comments? Teresa, if you have anything last moment to share here, please do so. And like I said, if you ever have any questions, send me lots of pictures. Sometimes if it's right around a Thursday, I'll just forward them to Bernie and he can look at them and answer some of your questions. If you ever want to talk to Bernie on the phone, give me a call. Bernie gets lonely on Thursdays, except for from 10 to 11-ish when we're on here.
You know, one thing I would like to mention is that if you're going to use one of the chemical products, and I don't care whether it's an insecticide or fertilizer or whatever, follow the instructions. You know, the label is the law, is the big saying that we use around here. And it really is true. If you're putting a product down and you're not putting it down in accordance with the label, you're breaking federal law. But more importantly, it doesn't work the way you think it does if you change the way you apply it. If they tell you to use 1 ounce of this product in a gallon of water, and you're a guy, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to put 6 ounces of this product in and a half a gallon of water.
It'll work better that way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the problem is if it's weed control, you burn the top of the weed off immediately. You don't kill the root at all, and in 3 or 4 days it's back, and you blame the product for not being effective. And my God, I used enough of it; it should have killed anything. But you know, these people that are selling this stuff understand that if you explain what the most effective way to use the product is, people will buy more of it. And they really want you to use what they've determined is the correct rate. And if you over fertilize, you damage the plants. If you under fertilize, you don't do what the plants need. If you put down more insecticide than you need, you can only kill an insect so dead. So, you know, how dead do you want it to be? As soon as it's graveyard dead, that's all you need. And graveyard dead is what the instructions are set for. You know, if it takes a hose in sprayer and it says set it on 6 for maximum efficiency, they know that 6 is maximum efficiency. They also know that you're going to set it on 12, blow that stuff out, and have to buy another bottle. But if you pay attention, they give you the best information. So since it's a law and since it's economically to your advantage, I really recommend following the instructions. And for so many things, that's very, very, very important. If you've got a lawn and you're using a fungicide to either cure or prevent take all root rot, use the right amount. Do yourself a favor. You know, a $6,000 sod job every other year is ridiculous when following the instructions could have prevented the whole thing. So, and unfortunately, that applies to most things in life. And like I say, I know us guys don't do that, but I really think we probably should. And Monday was my birthday, and I have moved up to this big numbers of years, and it's taken me all those years to figure that out. So take it from somebody that learned a little late.
Yeah, follow the directions, follow the rules. You're going to get the best results. I can tell you a whole bunch of stories about people who didn't, and then I'm talking to them on the phone, and I'm with one hand pulling up the instruction sheet for whatever product they used, and I'm reading that they shouldn't have used it on what they used it on. You know, the vast majority of turf grass weed controls you cannot put down when the temperature is really hot, like it is now. Can't use them during the heat of summer. The bag will tell you, it'll say, do not apply this when average daily highs are 85 or above. It's above 85 every day right here. Depending on where you live, maybe it isn't, but you have to read those directions and keep that in mind before you apply first and then wonder why everything is brown and dead second.
Or the weed control product that has 2,4-D, and it says safe for St. Augustine, except Floratam. And everybody's got Floratam, so they go out and they spray 2,4-D, and the Floratam, if it doesn't die, it gets really upset. So
looks like Teresa is going to be putting in a banana circle in her Sahara Desert yard. Yeah, definitely take lots of pictures, Teresa. We'll share them on here. We'll put something on Facebook. Banana circles are something that's very popular among gardeners. A lot of information online about it. It's a way to arrange and grow your banana plants in your yard. And Teresa shared some information on controlling nematodes here. A lot of information online, a lot of University of Florida. We have a whole department that just deals with nematodes. And happy birthday, Bernie.
oh, thank you.
You're getting a cake today, aren't you?
I am, and I'm excited.
That's great.
This is really a great organization here. It's got a lot of really nice people, so I'm really proud to be part of it.
Yeah, I know that I couldn't make it by without this person right here, Teresa. When did COVID start? 3 years ago or so?
Something like that.
We couldn't have done all this online work without her kind of being in the shadows, in the background, moderating, waiting to kick out people that needed to be kicked out. Although fortunately, I really never encountered that. Everybody is just so great online here. And you guys I really want to thank everybody who follows us on Facebook or is a member of our Facebook group. You guys make it so easy. You never say anything bad online. You never get in any really nasty fights or out of control. I never have to ban anybody. I almost never have to block any comments. So thank you. I appreciate that. It makes my life a lot easier. And we are getting some more happy birthdays for Bernie here. And one last reminder. Our Master Gardeners do have a nursery. It is over there on Oliver Street in Brooksville, right off of 41, just behind the Hernando County Fairgrounds, and on the same street as Animal Control. And they're there on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 8:30 in the morning, only until 11 right now, because it's summer and it's really hot. When we get into fall and winter, they're there until noon. Right now, come 11 a.m., don't roll in there 2 minutes to 11. They'll kick you out because it's really hot and they're ready to go by about 11. So stop by. They have a great selection of Florida-friendly plants, native plants, things that are going to look great in your yard, plants that are very well suited for this area, and no invasives either. They do a really good job of keeping those invasives out.
You know, one of the things that we've got going on in the county here is a palm disease, a lethal bronzing, that is really destroying our native sago palms, the cabbage palms. And everybody that's a gardener ought to start looking for all the cabbage palms that they can find. and just see how many in their area are starting to show bronzing colors. I've got about 20 palms that I passed coming to work, and at this point, half of them are gone, and the remaining 10 that are still there, half of those are showing symptoms. So be on the lookout. Just it'll give you an indication of what's in the neighborhood and what could happen to your very expensive palm. So hopefully they'll come up with something that is a cure. They're working on it. They're trying, but they don't have it yet. And I would not recommend spending a lot of money on a palm in our area right now or south of us without realizing that there is a very, very high probability, not just possibility, but probability that this plant will get sick at some point and die. And, I had a customer last week that mentioned they had just spent $6,000 for a palm tree. It was a beautiful tree, and it's one of them that, because it's a pineapple palm, already trained and gorgeous, and its pineapple is beautiful. Those emit it's not a pheromone, but it's a odor that attracts an insect that kills the tree. So, you really need to be careful. Now is not a time to be spending big money until we get some things under control. So just a tip, just something that you now know because you watched the show that your neighbors don't. So you can feel a little smug and relax that.
But everybody who watches us on a regular basis really is smarter than your neighbor. So go ahead and feel smug. It's fine. I'll get a guest on here to give us some kind of palm update in the next week or two. So I will put that on my list of upcoming class ideas and different things that we could focus on here on the virtual plant clinic. So we're working on some plans for the future. We got some ideas here. Okay, looks like it's right about that time. Wow, we showed pretty good time management today, didn't we?
Went quick.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody. I will be back here again next Thursday. Bernie, you going to be here?
I'm here as long as I'm still breathing. I kind of like this place. So
I'll take that as a yes.
I thank everybody that said nice things about happy birthday and all that. And I really appreciate it. So thank you.
And be sure to tune in next Thursday because I think Lily is going to pop back on. She must be getting bored with retirement already. So it's only been a few weeks. But if she's bored, she's more than welcome to come on. We can have up to 10 people on here. The squares start to get smaller and smaller, but we have room for 3. So, okay, guys. Well, thank you so much. And we will see all of you back here again next Thursday at 10 a.m. There'll be at least some of us here. Somebody will be on your screen ready to take your questions and comments and help you out with all your lawn and garden questions. So until then, everybody have a great week and see you next Thursday.